Hi, I'm Dr. Don Boomgaarden, President of St. Joseph's College, and I'd like to welcome you to St. Joseph's College Living Our Mission. Thank you for joining us. In this program, we will be discussing the future of St. Joseph's College and how our mission will position us to uniquely thrive both during and in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm pleased to announce that we are reopening our campuses to our students this fall and offering a multifaceted approach to learning, which will combine on-ground courses with remote learning options. Our return to work and campus plans follow the New York State Department of Health guidelines to ensure our campuses are safe and secure places to learn, teach, and work. With that said, we cannot look to the future without recognizing our rich history, our mission, and the vital role of St. Joseph's College, and the role it can play in shaping an inclusive, thriving, bright future for its students and the communities it serves. To speak more about the bright future I outlined are Christopher Carroll, alumnus of the class of 1988 and chairman of SJC's Board of Trustees, and Sister Suzanne Frank, director of SJC's Academic Advising Center and associate professor of religious studies. I'd like to welcome both of you today. I'm so happy to have you here. It's an honor to have you, Sister, working on our campus and doing such a wonderful job all these years, certainly since I've been here. And then, of course, Chris, as chairman of the board, you were one of those that interviewed me and hired me for this position. So I'm especially thankful to you for giving me the opportunity to be the president of St. Joseph's College. And I know it's something that's near and dear to your heart because you're an alum. You graduated from this campus back in the 80s. And I'm sure that as you were looking at colleges and universities, you had many options, but you chose to come here. And I suppose the first question I would have for you is, how did the mission of the college impact your decision to come here, and how did it impact you while you were a student and afterwards?
Well, first, Don, it's a privilege to be here and to be here with you and Sister. And it's a really good question. When I look back at my career and where I am now and where I've come from, there is no place that had a bigger impact on me than St. Joseph's in so many different ways. When I think back to being here as a student, you did mention the 80s. I appreciated that. It was transformational for me back then. I came in as a relatively quiet, some unassuming, wanted to be by myself person. And I was brought out and encouraged in a way that I wouldn't have been encouraged anywhere else, in my opinion. And it helped shape who I am on a go-forward basis. You know, our motto, to be and not to seem. It says everything. It's simple, but it says so much. It talks about being authentic and being real and genuine, acting and not just speaking, walk the walk. And in a way, it's everything we want to represent and everything we want to be. Be leaders who actually act appropriately and act in a way that is showing leadership. And that's what I've tried to do in my law career, starting a law firm and building what I consider to be a family. And with offices around the world now, we have a global footprint with a family global footprint with an opportunity to speak out on issues like diversity and inclusion. And not just speak out, but actually represent it in my law firm and how we are on a day-to-day basis. You know, I'm going to quote you in one of the many things I've read that you've said about St. Joseph's College, and that is, we don't just give out diplomas and degrees. We create and help advance people who are going to transform the world, going to make a difference. People who will reach out to others and really try hard to be representative of the people that we create every day here, and we build and we foster and we nurture. And that's so much a part of what I've become and so much a part of who I am now that I wouldn't be who I am without St. Joseph's College.
Well, I think that many people are surprised because they will ask me sometimes, well, Don, how can a small Catholic liberal arts college survive in this environment? And I always respond, well, first of all, we're really not that small.
True.
We're actually rather large. But secondly, it's our mission that gives us our vitality. That's what makes us successful. And in fact, I think you put your finger on it when you said in your firm, you see your firm as a family. And I think that many times people don't understand or surprised to discover that one of the chief components of leadership is a sense of love. Loving what you do and loving those around you, and also loving yourself. You know, having the ability to accept yourself for who you are, having the self-awareness to do that, but also projecting that love outward is a critical component of success in life. And so for a student at St. Joseph's like yourself, I think that you can see that in the professors, in the staff, in the fellow students, and the kind of warmth that we have on both of our campuses that's really extraordinary. So I'm thrilled that the college was able to provide that platform for you to become who you are. You know, this concept of gradually becoming who we are is such an essential part of education, and it lasts throughout our whole lives. So the lessons that you learned here are lessons that you're still carrying with you as you approach your job today. So Sister Suzanne, as you look at the college, historically, and also in terms of the current difficult period we're going through with the pandemic, how would you describe the college's approach to mission from the vantage point of one of the Sisters of St. Joseph?
So also thank you for inviting me to this, and it is a privilege to be part of St. Joseph's College for now 26 years. And going back to the beginning of our roots as Sisters of St. Joseph from France, the dear neighbor and service has always been one of the main focuses of how we live our lives and how we characterize our mission. And I think St. Joseph's College has put that fully into practice, certainly prior to the pandemic, and very much lived out since the pandemic has begun. The witness that we give, I think the modeling that's provided by the administration, yourself and other administrators that we have, but also the faculty and staff, and the real commitment that they've made on a daily basis each day to really be present to the students, to offer the best that they can for them. And we saw it, I think, effectively put into practice very quickly as we had to leave here in March and shift gears in terms of how we were going to not only teach the students, but still support them in their spiritual needs, in their psychological needs, and in the fear that really erupted as we went through this beginnings of pandemic and probably even now.
What was it like for you when we had to make that shift in March? Tell me a little bit about what that was like for you.
Well, it made me expand the walls of my house because the whole office came home with me. But I think part of it was how could I still make the students feel that I was there for them. I've always had an open door policy. I'm happy to welcome the students at any time of day or night to really meet the needs that they have. And how do you do that when we're all in our little places separate from the campus? And so just to be available as much as I could by phone, by Zoom. I've spent more time in front of cameras and computers, by email, you know, whatever the venue was that was going to help them to feel comfortable. And I think many faculty and staff have done the same thing. It was a challenge for sure, just trying to get all the pieces in place. We were getting near to the point of re-registering our continuing students and then moving to welcome new students. So that was quite a feat to figure out how we're going to welcome and make people feel welcome for the incoming semester when we can't even see them or have a conversation too directly with them. But I think even something like the awareness of the financial strain that was put on our students and their families, and how quickly we got that COVID Student Emergency Fund into place, and the generosity of alumni like yourself and many others, and then broadened it out to the wider community. And I mean, amazingly, as much as students have really reached out and have great, great need, the funds keep coming and coming, and we've never had to turn anyone away.
Yes, we quickly established a COVID-19 emergency fund for our students, and through other gifts and help from others, we've been able to really reach out and do many things for them that I think other schools have not been able to do. And this has been, of course, very, very valuable. So Chris, as chair of the board of a college going through this, as this has happened, what has that been like for you in terms of maintaining a sense of direction in all of this?
It was scary. I mean, call it what it was. The unknown, the uncertain is always frightening. As the chairman of a phenomenal board, we looked to our leadership. We looked to you. And I remember having a lot of conversations, and It seemed like every day we were having a new and different conversation and going in a different direction. And it's that kind of relationship, ability to have a chat with you, the honesty of it. But most importantly, from my perspective, the ability to trust you implicitly made it a lot easier for us as a board, because we knew the college was in good hands with you, sister, and everyone here. We knew the right decisions were being made. And so while we were certainly there to support in every way possible, we had absolute faith that the right place we would end up in was going to be directed by you and faculty and administration. So never had a question about it, but certainly this anguish and angst, as everyone has, as you're going through a process like this.
I think other presidents will understand when I say this, that most of them would envy me for my board. My board has been incredibly supportive and very much like a family, just as the college community is like a family. And I think that doesn't happen by itself. That's the product of many years of hard work from previous presidents. I'm thinking particularly of Sister Elizabeth Hill, who I know best of the previous presidents, and the work that she did to create an atmosphere in the board of support and a kind of sense of family there as well, which spills out into everything else. And I think that's really a part of what makes the sisters so special in general, is that they have that same atmosphere within their own order, within their congregation. We have to take a quick break, but still to come, more about the future of St. Joseph's College and the area of mission. Thank you. Welcome back to St. Joseph's College, Living Our Mission. We were discussing the future of St. Joseph's College as it relates specifically to the mission of the school. I think that one of the reasons that I came to St. Joseph's was because it had a strong sense of mission. I'd come to St. Joseph's from working previously at 3 different Jesuit universities. So when I looked at the materials about St. Joseph, I was delighted to see a kind of continuation of that spirit. And I know that there was a Jesuit present at the formation of the sisters themselves, and of course, some of the most beautiful writings that are used by the sisters in their formation were created by Jean-Pierre Médaille, a Jesuit priest. And that Jesuit spirituality does permeate the order to some degree, but with some important modifications. So as I look at this school and I meditate about it, and I think about having both of you here today with me to talk about it, we are faced with an exciting future. There are all kinds of things happening. Despite the crisis, the college has responded well to it. One of the reasons, I think, is because we had already before COVID a very, very successful online program, 27 fully online degrees and programs. Very fine enrollments in that area, so that when the crisis hit us, we were not unprepared. We had many staff and faculty who had worked in remote education and were very, very good at it, and they have helped us through this crisis. Even so, it's been difficult. And so, Chris, as you look at it as a chair of the board and as a longtime trustee and as an alum, and you look at the educational landscape of today, where do you see the future of St. Joseph's? What are some of the areas that you think are especially important for us to be thinking about in terms of mission?
Well, I think in the first instance, we need to give people a feeling of normalcy again. People have been through a lot. If you think about the students who are incoming freshmen, my daughter's an incoming freshman. Their senior year in high school, their freshman year in college is not like anyone else's senior year in high school and freshman year in college. And again, we talked about the angst associated with that is significant. So we have a student body, some of whom had to be online for us for the last 3 or 4 months of last year, some of whom were online as seniors. This is all a new process. Just giving them a sense of peace and safety and comfort and normalcy is a really important goal for us. We talked about that beforehand. And we have the people here that can do that. And so I think that's important. And once we do that, our mission is the same as it has been. But now we have an opportunity, I think, to reach more people. It doesn't matter from our perspective where you live or what color you are or what religion you are. We are here. And we want to be part of your future. And so I think to a very real degree, the opportunity that a COVID has presented us, because we are uniquely situated as a two-campus school in Brooklyn and on Long Island that's very diverse, we have an opportunity that maybe not a lot of other schools have. And as you said, because of your leadership and the leadership of the administration, we find ourselves in a good position that way, and an opportunity to be there and create people like me on a go-forward basis, but better, and really use our platform to do that.
Well, I think that the idea of the college as it develops, moving even more in the direction of transformation of young people and not so young people, because we have a huge variety of students. But that idea that St. Joseph's College does exist to transform the world. So on the one hand, we're trying to help the students, give them the certificates, the credentials that they need to be successful, place them into jobs and professions that are going to be rewarding to them. But at the same time, in the background, we're thinking, when you do that, we want you to do more. We want you to transform the world for the better. And at this point in our history, our national history, we certainly could use a lot of that. I think that the idea of the institution as an agent for change and as something which is going to bring enlightenment and learning is really more important than ever. And the new aspects of learning that we've touched upon, kind of all of us being forced into the virtual remote realm for a while, has given us some new perspectives on that. I certainly have them. I'm teaching this semester my course in North American Roots Music, which is a course I teach every year for the students. I alternate campuses. And this year I'm in Brooklyn, and we met for the first time online just this week. And my students, I could tell, were thrilled to have a moment to get out of the basement. They were clearly struggling in that environment, and I was able to talk about music and get them excited about the course, and also relate the course to all the important social issues of the day, because of course roots music is all about social issues. It's an opportunity that I saw right away in my own small world. And so I think that's happening across both campuses and in our online programs in general. Sister, as you look at the year, what would you say are some of the opportunities that we have this year and beyond that are related to your work and to the mission of the school?
I think one of the things that really became clear to me is the fragility of life, you know, how quickly things can change. And then on top of that, how important it is to be flexible and adaptable, which we were called to be very quickly in March, and not to be so set in what is the one way to do things, but to realize that there's a multiplicity of ways. And we've done that now successfully through our academics in shifting gears and offering all these different possibilities. The fact that you're doing your roots course remote enabled Long Island students to actually take the Brooklyn campus-based class this semester. So I think just to really be aware of the need, probably going into the future, because I'm not sure it will ever be how we defined normal once before, that we be creative, that we really think about how can we meet the needs of the students in this ever-changing world that we have. And listening is key. Really hear what the needs are for them, as well as for the faculty, staff, and administration and board, and work with people to see that everybody's need is important. We can't satisfy everybody 100% all the time, but to really be truthful in who we are, be genuine, live out the motto that we espouse, esse non vedere, to be, not to seem, and to help people to come into who they're called to be, who they've been created to be. And through my courses, I mean, I have kind of an ideal location in terms of religious studies education. And particularly this semester, I'm teaching social justice, which again is a perfect topic for the world that we're in. And I encourage them to really, taking from Mahatma Gandhi, be the change that they want to see in the world. And how can we foster that among the students and even among ourselves as we move into the future?
It's our great privilege to be with the students to talk about these kinds of issues, which in many cases in many cases in a venue, in a situation where they feel free to express themselves, and it gives them an opportunity to explore deeper issues which might not even come to the fore in normal times. But in this environment, you begin to see that these spiritual issues are actually paramount, that what gives us the strength to survive and do well in times like this are exactly the core values of our college. So integrity, spiritual depth, intellectual rigor, service, social commitments, these things are the glue that hold the college together, but also hold us together as people. Yeah. So in the courses we're teaching, in a way, we go beyond the superficial and into something very deep. So the material we're using to teach them is on one level, but there's a deeper level, and it's a level they all want to be on. Don't you feel? I mean, when you're working with them?
Absolutely. They have such a great desire for both community and spirituality. And even if they're not identifying with a particular religion, a formal religion as such, the wisdom that I see and the depth of the spiritual level of students is really inspirational to me, and often will challenge me to kind of look at my own self and say, okay, where do I need to grow and what else can I do?
Yeah, I think that's one of the great pleasures of our job is that we're around young people all the time, and they challenge us and force us to look at the world in a different way. I think the Sisters of St. Joseph, from their inception, have been very flexible, as an order. They have said, this is the type of education people need. When they were in Brooklyn in 1916, they said, people need this, let's do it this way. And then later on in the 70s and 80s, they were in Suffolk County and said, people need this, let's do this for them. And so now we're in the same situation where the world is changing around us. We can't use the same approaches, the same types of techniques. We have to modify everything, and we have to be nimble and flexible. And I think that counter to what many people might think, an order like the Sisters of St. Joseph have shown that throughout their history. That's very, very delightful. But that issue of the students themselves and learning from them, Chris, you come in contact with students all the time through your work as a board chair. What has that been like for you, and how do you see the impact of those students in your own work that you're doing now?
It's actually probably the best part of the role I get to play, and I'm blessed and honored to be the chair of as I said, an incredible board of an incredible college. It allows me to step back to what I was, and I look at, quite frankly, I look at these kids today, and they are multiples of what I was and who I was back then. Part of it's driven by the adversity that they have to live through and what they've gone through in COVID. We talk about COVID as a horrible thing, and it is. But it also builds character and it builds strength. You said, sister, the ability to weather it and to come out the other side a better and stronger person. And so, just seeing the growth of our students even through this has been remarkable. Also exciting, because it allows us to think about what the possibilities are on a going forward basis with kids of this strength and this character. Forced to weather something that's quite frankly unprecedented. So I look to them as our future, our really positive, better future than what we are now and what we have now. Envious in a way, but grateful at the same time.
I've often said to people who criticize the younger generation, the first thing I say is, you clearly are not around them very much, because if you were, you would have a very different opinion, because I'm around them all the time, and I can't tell you how excited you should be about the world, because these young people are remarkable, and they're living through a really challenging time, which is going to make them even stronger, as you say. But I think that I'm filled with a real sense of optimism when I look at our students. It's reaffirming to work with them. And for example, even in my little class, I have a discussion board where they come on and they chat with one another about their reading assignments. And the delicacy with which they disagree with one another is touching to me. They're so gentle, and they're such good spirits. And then the insights that they have are so perceptive that it is highly refreshing. And oh, by the way, they write really well. So I think that our country can rest assured that we have a bright future. And certainly the students from St. Joseph represent that beautifully. They go out into the world, they're incredibly successful, and of course we're highly ranked for that reason. But I don't care so much about the rankings as I care about the students themselves and the impact that they're having. And I know that it's quite a wonderful impact. And I want to thank both of you for the work that you've done to make sure that that happens. Chris as chair and Sister Suzanne through your teaching and through your administrative work at the college.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Don.
Well, thank you, Chris and Sister, and thank all of you at home for joining us today. Living Our Mission is a special program, and this conversation has reinforced something that's been evident to me throughout the COVID-19 crisis, how truly important our work together is, and how blessed we are all to have this opportunity to transform the world anew with each student we serve. We're looking forward to welcoming our students back very soon, and will provide them with the same high-quality, affordable education that we always have, while continuing to offer an array of opportunities and a rich student life experience. We hope to see you again soon. Be safe and stay healthy.